Hi everybody, welcome to this talk on heavy thought forms. It's a light topic. So we are looking at the idea of what does a heavy thought form or heavy idea, how does it affect you and your life and also society as a whole? What is it that happens in a world when heavy thought forms take place? And if we look at the idea, what is a thought form, right? What is it inside of you that's a thought form? Well, we could start by saying it's an identity, right? It's an identification. We can start with your identification of where you grew up, what country you grew up in, what family you grew up in, what town you grew up in. These are not even thought forms the way later thought forms are, but they're still a part of a densifying, something that gets denser in your system. And then we start to identify with the feelings, thoughts, habits, cultural expressions that are happening in the area where you grew up, in your family, in your own family, right? We get imprinted with behaviors, thoughts, and energies from the families we grow up in. Of course, normal. Not strange. Now, if we grow up in an unhealthy, dysfunctional family, which a lot of us have, right? We will get imprinted with the same ideas of fear and heaviness and negativity that are running in that family of origin. Now, there are times when we are free from that. There are times when we find freedom. And at times, of course, that freedom can come through drugs and alcohol, it can come through sex. And any one of those things that provide that sense of freedom could also become very addictive for us, right? It's easy to see that if you are stuck in a thought pattern or a thought form and something comes and interrupts that and creates a sense of freedom, a sense of health, a sense of wealth or happiness, that it's easy to get addicted to that. That would be normal for anything. Any animal, any being would, of course, have an easy time getting addicted to that. And when we look at what a heavy thought form then is this idea of opinions, for example, right? So you and I, we might walk around the world, and I myself might have lots of opinions about a lot of things. And as these opinions, if they can grow in my mind or in your mind, and they get more and more solid, we start to manifest them into our lives. And as we look around, right, what these thought forms do is they also create our perception. So when somebody runs around with a negative pattern, thought form, let's say that a certain group of humans, we think that they are worse than other groups of humans. So inside of us, there's going to be like, as soon as I see somebody representing this particular group of humans, it doesn't really matter which group. It doesn't matter if it's a gender-related group, if it's a sexual orientation-related group, or if it's a skin color-related group, or a height, or a fancy car or not fancy car. It doesn't matter what type of group you have a negative thought pattern attached to, but these negative thought patterns, right? It's so easy that we start seeing what we're looking for. We're living in a co-created universe. We are living in a universe where you and I, with our perception and intention, see what we're looking for. And if we then see that our thought forms might be negatively charged around a certain group of people, and I see a representative of that group of people, my mind is immediately going to go in, they are bad. That group of people are bad. And then my brain is going to look for signs that they are bad. It's going to look for proof so that my idea can get stronger. And unfortunately, this helps us create our own bubble. You and I end up living in our own perceptive bubble. And as we run into other people with the similar perception of the world, those people are bad. Yeah, we all agree those people are bad. The people with things on their heads are bad. The people who do spiritual stuff, they're bad, right? Whatever it might be that you and I have an opinion about, or guys with beards, we're bad. And then we start looking for signs. Yeah, look at all those bikers, they all have beards. Look at those people over there, the sailors, they all have beards. Whatever it might be that your perception is, people with tattoos might be bad or good, depending on your perception. But we're going to start finding proof of why our thought form is real. And that's when fear, right? We are starting to manifest our own fear. So I grew up in Sweden. A guy I used to know a long time ago, he was afraid of immigrants because he had gotten beat up a few times. And he said he's always gotten beat up and he's afraid of them. And they're bad people. And when I look around and I look at that and I see that I never was in trouble the same way that he was, and I know a lot of people who were not, it was his perception of what he was expecting to find in his life and in his reality that kept creating the same situations, the same circumstances over and over and over. In reality, so we're building a mental prison. And we don't know this. We just think, oh, if I have these opinions or feelings, I'm safer. I'm building a box that I believe in, and this is the box that we can live within. Right? It's really ego. It's really the matrix. It's really a thought form that's being denser in your system. So if somebody's afraid of always running out of money, what's going to happen? You're going to look for ways you're running out of money. So you're going to be proving to yourself, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to run out. Yeah, I'm going to run out. Or whatever it might be. You're afraid of running out of food, running out of love, whatever it might be. You think you have to hang on to things. So when we hang on, we're pushing things away instead. And then the proof is in the pudding. We start believing in our experience. In my case, I grew up in a household where boundaries were not very respected in any way, shape, or form. And there was a lot of things that happened that were of an unhealthy nature. And as I grew older, the same things kept happening in my own life. Over and over and over and over. And at some point, you're like, oh my God, this is bigger than me. This is karmic. But it's also based on perception. Based on what is my idea of the world? How do I look at it? And then what's the result of how I look at the world? And this happens for all of us, right? So if you're a liberal, and you're going to be looking for signs that the other side is terrible. Or if you're a Republican, you're going to look at the other side and say they're terrible. And if you're in the middle, you might say both sides are terrible. But we're looking for signs for either one. And it's really interesting to see how these thought forms, they do manifest into our lives. So if you grow up in a violent home, or if you start to see the world as it could be a dangerous place, I better learn how to defend myself. Then these thought forms, then you walk around the world with your fists like this, right? Ready to punch. So nobody can punch you first. And as we walk around like that, what are we going to see? We're going to see other people. It's that saying. If all you have is a hammer, everything is going to start looking like a nail. But it's based in heavy thought forms. And we can look at our own inner patterns. If you're aware enough, if you're able to sit with creating space inside of you and you begin to feel connected to yourself, to your inner life force energy, and you start to identify more with life force energy than your opinions about things, then you are starting to transcend your ego. You're starting to transcend these limitations that our perception is putting on everything. So as you transcend the ego, then you can start to see, oh, hang on, do I have heavy thought forms around this or that? And as you get it deeper, and in my case, when I got deeper onto a spiritual journey, for a while there, I probably still do, but I'm looking at sitting in stillness more, right? But it's easy to have a lot of opinions about different spiritual walks and about, oh, they're doing it wrong, the people who who stand on their head, they're doing it wrong, the people who don't stand on their head are doing it wrong. It's really easy to get into a judgmental mindset, and that's based in heavy thought forms. And the funny, or I guess sad thing about the heavy thought forms is that it's creating our own sense of hell on earth. It's creating war on our planet. It's creating suffering on our planet. It's creating killing. It's how the cops look at the world quite often. Not all cops, of course, but much of a police experience is spent, that's a perpetrator, that's a good person. That's a perpetrator, that's a good guy. And the world becomes very black or white. Same as the military, right? The military is a perfect example of a fear idea that's been festering within a country. This fear idea, our country is better than their country, so we better defend ourselves. And we might want to take some of that country, so we need some sort of strong arm. So it starts as a fear-based idea, an energy of fear. The fear that we're not having enough, that we need to take from each other. So we're creating people who need to be ready to hurt other people. And in order for the military to be ready to do that, they have to harden up. They have to become weighted down with these heavy thought forms. And they get heavier and heavier and heavier until they're ready to kill people, torture people, based on the thought form. Oh, I'm from this country, so I can hurt you because you're from that country. Those are heavy, negative, charged thought forms. Yes? While when we come into our spirit, our soul, and we begin to realize that, hang on, that negativity, those heavy thought forms, they don't lead anywhere. They don't go anywhere positive. If we realize and recognize that fear will only create more fear, that an eye for an eye will make the whole world go blind. Period. Yes, there are times we need to defend ourselves. There are times we need to make sure we're safe, because that's self-love. But defending yourself doesn't mean hurting the other person. It means creating space so that you can be safe. Yes? So when we move into spirit, energy, life, and we start to recognize that life force is this expansive life process that's going on with the trees, going on with our bodies, going on with everything around us. Life is creating more and more cells all the time. That's the creative process. Life, physical life is a manifestation of the creative force of the energy, right? Of the universe, right? The energy of the universe is creative, it's flow. And our physical bodies are a manifestation of that. And then we start to realize that anything that's chopping off fingers, being negative towards the physical manifestation, is in actuality negative. And that doesn't necessarily mean a thought form of negativity. That doesn't mean that I'm judging it. It means more like you're building something up, and if you break that, you have created, like, what you built up has actually been ruined. Now, of course, sometimes things need to be ruined so new things can come up. But often, the destructive process is destructive. If we look at how humanity is solving conflicts right now, our conflict solution is war. That is not a very positive outcome, right? There's a lot of suffering, density, heaviness happening in the field when we go into that direction. So as we move away from heavy thought forms, right? Because these heavy thought forms are, I am Russian, so I have to be this way. I am American, so I have to be this way. I'm Swedish, so I have to be this way. Those are thought forms. They're not real. In reality, you grew up on a plot of land that humans have chosen to call a certain country. Humans don't own the earth, right? We think we do, but we really don't. Who did we pay? Who did we write that check to? So, heavy thought forms is the reason for a lot of suffering on our planet. And if you are honest with yourself and you look at yourself, you might see that you have some too. And as we start coming back home, we're like creating space with the breath in our body. We're creating freedom. Then we realize that in that stillness, along that razor sharp edge of the now, there exists no real thoughts. There's freedom from thinking because we are completely aware of the moment. And as we are aware of the moment, we realize that, oh my God, we are so much more than our limited thought forms are telling us. That I am not just Swedish, that I'm not just human, I'm not just a man, I'm not just bearded, I'm not just of this opinion or that opinion. That we are an expression of life force energy itself. And that is such a deep and beautiful and strong insight that when you start on your spiritual journey and you reach those conclusions, they really help us to see that, oh, my thought forms are really heavy in this field, in this area. Maybe I can sit and breathe space into it. Let them release them a little bit. Do I have to have such strong opinions about this or that gender, about this or that situation? Can I feel the love flowing in my system? Can I feel my chakra system itself aligning? Can I come back to my self-worth, my self-love? Can I sit in that still space between the then and the coming? Can we come into the now? It's like the gateway into all this deeper spiritual awareness. So, dearly beloved, hope this made some sense, right? Okay, last thing. As we move away from heavy thought forms, we find that freedom that John Lennon talked about in Imagine. Imagine there are no borders. Imagine there's no countries. Imagine there's no governments. Imagine that we're living in a free world. Because when we move away from the idea of the matrix, which is based in heavy thought forms, when we move away from the matrix and the energy of it, there is such vast levels of freedom in humanity, in humankind, in our connectivity to to space, to other beings. There's such big freedom in that. It's only the limited beliefs of the human mind that keeps us in that small mindset. So expansion, coming back home to our body and expanding away from the limited beliefs of the mind, is how we create freedom, and we're creating love, flow of love. We're creating a stronger, healthier, happier society. All right, everybody. Thank you for being on board. Thank you for watching this video. Click like and subscribe if this spoke to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. So much love. Namaste. And aho.